the other question I would ask is why are there most, I mean, I'm guessing, Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're mostly a listing broker. You're not a seller, a buyer's broker.
Yeah, primarily.
And why would that be?
For me, part of it is I'm lazy and I don't want to. I don't want to go out and find another business for somebody and hold their hand. And it's kind of the same with being a listing agent or a buyer's agent. Um, in real estate, you show 20 houses to somebody and
Right.
and it fits all their parameters and they buy something that is nothing what they told you, whereas most business, they buy on a profit margin or, a lot of times they could care less what the business even does. So in that respect, on bigger business, it's easier, but smaller businesses that is going to be an owner operator is very personal. They're looking at that. They're saying, "Is this me? Can I get along with the business seller?" There's a lot of yawing around.
Yeah.
Plus it takes a lot more money to get into a business. They got to have a lot more cash than a home.
It's just not as standard, is it? When you sell a business, I'm gray haired like you are, but I think I'm older. And I've owned a lot of businesses over the years, bought and sold businesses, run them, build them up, and so forth. And the reason I'm in business brokering is because I like business and I communicate with business owners. It's a very tough business, and the cycle of sales is typically fairly long. From the time you get the listing to the time you sell, and there's a lot of times you don't sell. Uh, it's like a unknown because some people say, "Oh my gosh, if that guy wants my business so bad, maybe I ought to keep it," or gee, look at the idea that he just came up with, or maybe the economy changes during the time, or maybe they pick up a big customer they were working on, or any number of things. So, um, one of the things that we're trained in business brokering is to make sure that we have a legitimate seller. That sounds crazy, but why is that person selling? That's my first question, actually, is why are you selling this great business that you love so much and it's making so much money? Why on earth would you sell this? And if they can't convince me, I walk. I've done that. And I just tell them, no, you're not ready to sell. You just maybe want me to tell you how much it's worth or something, but I'm glad to talk to you about that. But if we sign a listing agreement, I'm going to try to sell this business, and I want to make sure that that's a real legitimate seller. Uh, so, is anything that we've said here surprising to the three of you?
No,
Not
it's right
true.
on point.
Yeah, I would say too. Yeah, right on point.
Yeah.
You
I'm
I'd
sorry.
like
What
to
was the what was the thing that was surprising? I missed it.
Not really surprising because it is a
Oh, okay.
different, yeah, it is a different, totally different ball game. And
Do you know that it's double-sided commissions?
yes,
Yeah. So
Yes.
typically, we represent the buyer too. And you have to be good with people in this business, Matt, don't you? And I mean, if you don't like people, you better not get into the business brokering. Real estate's a little different than that because you send the sellers out of the house, let's say. Don't be here when I'm trying to sell this house, right? We don't want you fouling up the deal. However, in business brokering, you cannot do that. They actually have to talk to each other eventually. And if they don't get along at some level, it really can make a deal go south pretty fast.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of to me at least, Matt, maybe it's different for you, but to me, there's some buyers and sellers, you just know that this is a good, I just know this, if we can make the deal, if they have the money, we have a good buyer and we have a good seller, deal's going to go together.
I
And
would
I've
say
seen that.
there's a lot more psychology in business brokerage in matching a buyer and a seller. You know, people think that, oh, they don't, they'll have to deal with each other for a few months. They can suck it up, but I'm here to tell you, they don't. They don't suck it gets brutal, and so and the thing about it is most successful business owners are, you know, very A-type personalities, and so they're it's my way or the highway almost mentality. And so when you bring a buyer in who may be the same way, then you have this butting of the heads. Well, I want to, the buyer's like, well, I think we're going to change everything, and I don't like how you're doing it, blah 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 blah, and that'll send a seller through the roof.
Have you ever
Because
had that happen? Have you ever
I
seen
have,
that? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I've lost deals because of it, and so now I spend a tremendous amount of time evaluating the personality and looking for that right fit. Both, in my discussion with the seller, is what kind of personality are they? Is that contributed to their success? Or is it a detriment? Sometimes,
Yeah.
business owners will come to you and they're the wrong personality type for that business, and it's been a detriment to them. And they know, sometimes they know that, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're, um, they're clueless, but there's such a demand for maybe that product that despite, them getting in their own way, they've been successful or have, made some sales. But
You have to pat both the buyer and the seller on the back a little, don't you? And you have to build their ego, I believe,
yep.
a little bit, and tell them their ideas are great, even if they're not sometimes. Yeah, but uh,
Or just not say nothing.
or not say anything. If they ask you, what do you think of my idea? Well,
Mm-hmm,
I just, it's a people business. And whereas real estate is more transactional. And so think of it that way. You drive up to a piece of real estate and you can look at the foundation. You can look at the roof, the doors, the paint, the electrical and the plumbing. You can go through it. You can look, if it's a commercial property, you can analyze the financials, and they're pretty straightforward. There's not too much that even a neophyte has to know to see a crack in the foundation if you know where to look. And whereas in a business, they can lie to you. They can have their books can be, wrong. So I always get their tax returns because they've had to sign those things, send them to the government, and so they're a legal document. And they can tell you that, oh, it makes a lot more money, and we have cash sales in the backside, and the problem with that is they've already taken advantage of that tax-free money, and you can't just tack it on to the value of the business. And if the new buyer wants to talk to the seller and and the seller can convince them somehow of this cash trove sitting over here, I'm not opposed to that. However, I'm not going to represent it that way. I have a license on the line. They just have their reputation on the line, and I do too. And so I think there's some tricky elements to business brokering like that. That's why there's just few of us, because Most people quit this business. They can't stand it.
Well, it takes at least 18 months usually to make your first sale. Besides the learning
Yeah.
curve, during that time learning and it's a long road, and the more you learn, sometimes the scarier you get, about, is this really something that's going to fit for me? Because if you don't really know all the ins and outs of business and the way the business owners write things off and hide things, and it can bite you bad.
Yeah, because we sign an agreement like real estate agents do. You sign it, and if you know something, like Rashimi, since I see your face, if you know something, you have to reveal that, or you can be held accountable for that later on down the road. Business brokering is a little less that way, in my experience. We have some flexibility on contracts. There's flexibility, but there are more lawsuits. People don't like to pay. And so you get in, I mean, the commissions can be big because let's say you've got a $5 million sale price, and let's say you have 8%, you could get 8%, and that's $400,000 commission. That's why a referral position like Delfina and Rashimi, I would really look closely at building referrals and getting that going. That is because business brokers are a little bit lazy that way. We ought to be going out to you guys and asking for the referrals because we take them and we love them. I mean, that's the best thing, right? A warm lead. So, and we're really happy to give you money for that. We just know that, well, this is the beginning of a 6 month, 8 month, 12 month process here. So, um, a lot of people on the referral side don't get too excited about that. But the um, results can be pretty good. I mean, if it's that 400,000, 20% of that, well, be the sales side, only half of that, you're not going to get both sides. But it's still a pretty sizable commission. So you'd get $40,000 in your pocket, which is not bad.
Yeah, for not basically doing anything but making the connection,
Yeah, yeah,
somebody and I moved um, from my brokerage that I was at. I moved it to a bigger real estate brokerage firm, and specifically just so I could get the referrals, um, from those
yeah,
agents, because they're trying to make it a policy in that brokerage that real estate agents can't do business brokerage, and
yeah.
and by having a business brokerage firm attached to it, they can enforce that a little easier, because it's really been putting
Yeah.
that brokerage at risk.
Well, EXP, I don't know if you know too much about EXP, but it's got what? She is it 86, would you say 86,000 realtors or 80,000 and above
Yeah,
someplace?
yeah, around that number, yes.
Yeah, and they're hungry. I mean, everyone's hungry. Everyone has time, and everyone in real estate on the residential side is a marketer, a good marketer. A lot of them are excellent at it. They ought to be talking to the owner of that house. Do you have a business too? Are you moving? What are you doing with your business?
Yeah,
And that's what I always suggest. And oh yeah, I have this business. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I just may close the doors.
Yeah.
Well, don't do that. Uh, you know,
Yeah.
give it to somebody that knows what they're doing. They might be able to help you with it. So that's when you call someone like myself and say, "What do you think?" And you get as much information as you can, and that's the way we do it, or the way I do it at least.
Yeah.
And that is, I agree with you. That's a good way because I don't know anything about selling a business, but if you have an expert on your side,
Yeah.
then it helps. Yeah.
Well, then you're more of a full service realtor also, and they like that too. And and then you become known as that too in your own firm. And especially if you start referring, I think you become a stronger agent all the way around myself. Uh, we are entrepreneurs after all. All of us are. If we're successful at this business, my opinion is you have to be a self-starter. You can't. I've had people want to work with me, and after a little bit of talking with them and discussions and so forth, I know pretty quick if it's something I would feel comfortable spending my time doing with them. Um, because 6 months down the road they're tired and they don't want to do it. You can figure that out pretty fast up front. So we just don't want warm bodies any more than I just want any old business that's out there that wants to sell. I don't. So we have to pick and choose, I think, through life. That's the way I look at it anyway. I'm too old. The other